At the frozen edge of our solar system, nearly 6 billion kilometers from the Sun, NASA has detected something that shouldn't exist, something hiding on Pluto's largest moon, Charon. A discovery so unexpected, so profoundly strange, that it's forcing scientists to reconsider everything they thought they knew about this distant, icy world. What NASA found isn't just surprising, it's unbelievable, and it changes the story of Pluto and Charon forever. The story of NASA's unbelievable detection on Pluto's largest moon begins not with advanced spacecraft or cutting-edge sensors, but with a mistake, an error so small and so ordinary that it should have been forgotten. Yet that tiny flaw became the key that opened the door to one of the most remarkable revelations in outer solar system history. Decades before NASA ever sent missions to the Kuiper Belt, Pluto was little more than a faint, wandering point of light on photographic plates. Observing it required patience, precision, and often a good deal of luck. And on June 22, 1978, luck arrived disguised as an imperfection. James Christie, an astronomer at the U.S. Naval Observatory, was performing the kind of tedious work no one envies, reviewing photographic plates of Pluto to refine calculations of its orbit. The images he studied weren't impressive. In fact, several had been marked as flawed or poor. Pluto didn't appear as a clean dot, but as an oddly stretched blob with a small bulge on one side. Most astronomers would have discarded these images as atmospheric distortion or instrument error. But Christie wasn't like most astronomers. His background photographing double stars gave him an eye for subtle patterns. And when he noticed that Pluto looked distorted while distant background stars remained sharp, he felt a jolt of suspicion. If the telescope or atmosphere had caused the distortion, everything in the image should have been warped, not just Pluto. Something real was hiding there. Christie began digging through archival plates, some dating back more than a decade. Many had been dismissed as defective, but to Christie, they were clues. On these supposedly ruined images, the mysterious bulge appeared again and again, always shifting its position, always moving with purpose. When he charted this motion, the result was astonishing. The bulge circled Pluto every 6.4 days, perfectly matching Pluto's rotation period. This was not a smear. This was a moon. Designated S1978 P1 and later named Charon, the newfound moon transformed Pluto from an isolated world into the heart of a dynamic, gravitationally bound system. But this was only the beginning. As scientists calculated Charon's mass and orbit, they uncovered something that would challenge the very definition of what a planet is. Charon wasn't a tiny satellite orbiting a dominant world. It was massive, holding about 12% of Pluto's mass. In comparison, Earth's moon is barely 1% of Earth's mass. This unusual balance suggested a system unlike anything else known at the time. A binary world, a pair of icy bodies locked in an eternal gravitational embrace, orbiting a shared center of mass that floats in empty space above Pluto's surface. It was a discovery that would ripple across the scientific community for decades. And today, NASA's latest detection on this same moon, Pluto's enigmatic twin, promises to rewrite the story once again. Because what they found on Charon isn't just unexpected, it's something no one believed was possible. When NASA released its newest data from Pluto's largest moon, the scientific community immediately noticed something extraordinary, something that only makes sense when you understand just how bizarre the Pluto-Charon system truly is. To comprehend why NASA's new detection is so unbelievable, we have to return to the moment when the existence of this binary world first shattered everything astronomers thought they understood. Charon's discovery was monumental, but it was the implications that sent shockwaves across planetary science. because once astronomers measured Charon's orbit precisely, they could finally apply Kepler's third law to calculate Pluto's mass with unprecedented accuracy. The results stunned everyone. Pluto wasn't a small terrestrial-like world as some had imagined, nor was it a mini-gas giant. Instead, it was incredibly lightweight and far less massive than previously believed. And Charon, surprisingly, was immense. Holding a staggering 12% of Pluto's mass, Charon wasn't behaving like a traditional moon. This wasn't a tiny companion pulled helplessly around a dominant planet. No, this was a partnership, a gravitational duet, a cosmic double act unlike anything else in the inner solar system. And that became clear the moment scientists realized where the center of mass, the barycenter, actually was. For Earth and its moon, the barycenter lies beneath Earth's surface. For Jupiter and its moons, it lies deep within the gas giant. But for Pluto and Charon, it floats in open space, suspended between the two worlds like an invisible point about 960 kilometers above Pluto's surface. Instead of Charon circling Pluto alone, both worlds orbit this empty spot in space, locked together in a perfect synchronized dance. And the strangeness doesn't end there. Most planets are tidally locked to their moons in one direction, like Earth's moon, always showing us the same face. But Pluto and Charon are mutually locked. Each world shows the same hemisphere to the other for eternity. If you stood on the Charon-facing side of Pluto, Charon would hang motionless in the sky, a giant frozen disk suspended forever above the horizon. If you stood on the opposite hemisphere, you would never even know Pluto had a moon. This eerie stillness, this gravitational choreography, led many astronomers to argue that Pluto and Charon should not be classified as a planet and its moon, but as a double planet system. For decades, the idea simmered, resurfacing each time new data appeared. And when NASA released the latest detection, something so unexpected and unusual, it reignited that debate with even greater force. Because the new finding suggests that the bond between Pluto and Charon isn't just gravitational or geological, it's chemical, atmospheric, dynamic. Something is being exchanged between these two worlds, something that shouldn't be happening on a moon so small, airless, and frozen. NASA's detection hints that material from Pluto is migrating across space and landing on Charon in measurable quantities. Not faint traces, not theoretical dust, but something far more substantial and more mysterious. Something capable of altering the moon's color, its chemistry, and possibly even its long-term evolution. It is a process so strange that scientists are still struggling to explain how it could persist across billions of years. And this revelation didn't emerge from a spacecraft flyby or a new high-resolution image. It emerged from a subtle pattern buried in data, just like the very first discovery of Charon itself. A flaw, a shift, a distortion so easy to overlook that it almost remained hidden. But once it was noticed, it changed everything. Now, the focus is no longer just on the formation of this double world, but on the invisible connection binding them, a connection NASA's new detection has brought into the spotlight. And the implications reach far beyond Pluto. To understand why NASA's latest detection on Charon is so unbelievable, we must uncover the violent, chaotic beginning that forged this frozen giant. For decades, scientists believed Pluto and Charon were born through a scaled-down version of the same cataclysm that created Earth's moon. A massive collision, a fiery blast, and a ring of debris that gradually shaped itself into a companion world. It was a dramatic theory, but one that began to crumble as new data revealed the true nature of these distant bodies. Unlike Earth and the proto-moon, Pluto and Charon are not rocky worlds of molten stone. They are icy, rigid spheres made of water ice mixed with rock. These materials behave very differently under cosmic impact. The more researchers ran simulations, the more inconsistencies emerged. The classic giant impact didn't quite fit. It couldn't explain why Pluto is denser and more rock-rich, while Charon is lighter and more ice-dominated. It couldn't explain how their interiors remained largely intact, and it couldn't explain the incredible symmetry of their orbits. So another theory rose to the surface, one far stranger, far more elegant, and far more fitting for a system as bizarre as Pluto and Charon. The kiss and capture scenario. In this model, two separate bodies formed in the early Kuiper Belt, Proto-Pluto and Proto-Charon. Instead of smashing together at catastrophic speeds, they collided gently, almost softly, like two drifting snowballs touching in slow motion. For a brief moment, they stuck together, rotating as a single, lopsided form, locked in an unstable embrace. But tidal forces stretching and twisting both bodies eventually tore them apart. Not violently, not completely, just enough. Enough for them to separate, yet remain bound forever. This is the moment the binary world was born. The energy released from this cosmic kiss didn't shatter them. Instead, it seeped deep into both worlds, generating tidal heat that melted their interiors. Beneath Charon's icy shell, an ocean may have once churned, warm, dark, and enormous. And as this ocean slowly froze over millions of years, the moon cracked open from the inside out, creating the colossal canyons and tectonic scars still seen today. This history matters because NASA's new detection suggests that Pluto and Charon are not just gravitational partners. They may still be exchanging material, energy, or chemistry in ways no one predicted. Something began long ago during their birth. And somehow, impossibly, traces of that ancient connection still persist. When NASA released its newest analysis of Pluto's largest moon, researchers knew they were staring at something astonishing, something that could only be understood by revisiting the scars etched across Charon's frozen body. Because this is not a quiet moon. This is a world that once tore itself apart, erupted with seas of icy lava, and may still carry the chemical fingerprints of a connection to Pluto that shouldn't exist in a world without air, heat, or geological life. And it all begins on the surface. Charon's landscape is a graveyard of colossal fractures, towering cliffs, and canyons so deep they make our Grand Canyon feel like a crack in the sidewalk. The most staggering of these is a belt of chasms that wraps around the moon's equator, a planetary wound stretching for at least 1,800 kilometers and plunging nearly 7.5 kilometers into the crust. New Horizons revealed these as pull-apart faults, a sign that Charon's entire outer shell had once been stretched from within. But what could rip a frozen moon apart on such a massive scale? The answer lies in an ancient ocean. At the beginning of its history, after its gentle collision with Proto-Pluto, Charon was heated from the inside. Beneath a thick crust of ice, a vast subsurface ocean formed. Over millions of years, as the heat dissipated into the vacuum of space, this ocean began to freeze. And water, unlike nearly any other substance in the universe, expands when it solidifies. As that inner ocean turned to ice, it pushed relentlessly outward, shattering the crust like a frozen balloon stretched to breaking. The result was cataclysmic, a global network of rifts that remain preserved today in the moon's icy skin. But Charon's story grows even stranger when you move to the southern hemisphere. There, New Horizons found Vulcan Planitia, a smooth expanse of frozen plains unlike the ancient heavily cratered terrain of the north. This region is younger, flatter, and marked by the remnants of enormous cryovolcanic flows. Instead of molten rock, these eruptions released thick slurries of water, ammonia, and other ices that surged across the landscape like frozen lava. These flows likely originated from deep fissures triggered by the freezing ocean, driven upward by pressure and chemical reactions occurring far below the crust. Scattered across Vulcan Planitia are isolated mountains such as Kubrick Mons, each perched strangely within circular depressions. Scientists believe these are massive blocks of the older northern crust carried by cryovolcanic flooding, giant icebergs stranded in a frozen sea. This alone would make Charon one of the most geologically fascinating moons in the outer solar system. But NASA's latest detection points to something even more mysterious, a process that cannot be explained by geology alone. Because when scientists examined Charon's chemical composition in the newest datasets, they found patterns hinting at an active exchange of material between Pluto and Charon. Not simply dust, not faint vapors, but something far more substantial: complex hydrocarbons and methane-derived compounds accumulating in ways that should not be possible on an airless, inert moon. And nowhere is this more evident than Charon's iconic polar stain, Mordor Macula. This vast reddish-brown tholin cap is unlike anything else in the Kuiper Belt, and for decades, scientists have debated its origin. The most widely accepted theory suggests that methane escaping from Pluto's atmosphere is being gravitationally captured by Charon. During Charon's century-long polar winters, the temperatures plunge so low that methane freezes directly onto the surface. When sunlight returns, ultraviolet radiation converts that methane frost into complex organics, tholins, that stain the polar region red. But NASA's new detection hints at something more complex. Instead of just methane drifting passively from Pluto, the distribution patterns observed suggest an ongoing cycle, one potentially influenced by Charon's ancient internal processes. Some researchers propose that the cryovolcanism that once reshaped the southern hemisphere may have also released gases, methane among them, from Charon's interior. If so, Charon may have once possessed a temporary atmosphere of its own. That atmosphere, even if short-lived, could have coated both poles with methane that later transformed into the dark tholin deposits we see today. This new interpretation complicates everything. It suggests that the red stain on Charon's pole is not merely paint from Pluto, but a chemical echo of both worlds' shared history, an imprint of their violent formation, their tidal heating, and perhaps even their brief atmospheric collaboration. NASA's detection doesn't just reveal chemistry, it reveals a relationship, a gravitational, geological, and chemical bond that has endured for billions of years. Something more profound is happening between Pluto and Charon, something that challenges our understanding of small, frozen worlds. And whatever NASA found, it's only the beginning. For decades, Charon was little more than a shadow orbiting a distant frozen world, a smudge on a photographic plate, a flaw mistaken for an error. But today, after NASA's latest detection, this once ghostly moon has become one of the most important keys to understanding not just Pluto, but the entire outer solar system. Because the more we uncover, the more impossible this moon becomes. Charon's global fractures tell the story of a world that once held a vast ocean beneath its surface, an ocean that froze with enough force to tear the crust apart. Its southern plains, smoothed by ancient cryovolcanic floods, reveal a moon that once reshaped itself from within. And its stark, isolated mountains hint at massive chunks of crust carried by flows of icy magma before being stranded in place forever. But the greatest mystery lies at the pole, the deep, blood-red stain of Mordor Macula. NASA's latest detection has revealed chemical patterns that don't fit neatly into old models. The tholins aren't arranged randomly. They form gradients, layers, signatures, evidence that their origin isn't simply methane drifting over from Pluto, but something more complex, more active, and more interconnected. The discovery suggests that Pluto's escaping atmosphere may interact with Charon's surface in ways never imagined. It hints that the binary system could be exchanging material across space, defying the expectations of what small, frozen worlds can do. And if Charon once had its own temporary atmosphere, released through violent cryovolcanic episodes, then the red at its pole may be a chemical monument, a collaboration between two worlds born from the same ancient collision. This changes everything. Charon is no longer just a moon. It is a record of Pluto's past, a reflection of its geology, a recipient of its escaping gases, and perhaps even a participant in an exchange cycle that has lasted billions of years. And because Pluto and Charon orbit a shared center of mass in open space, what one world experiences inevitably affects the other. They are not separate. They are one system, one story, intertwined from the moment they collided to the moment NASA's New Horizons passed by. NASA's newest detection is unbelievable, not because it is flashy or dramatic, but because it reveals something subtle, delicate, and profound, the unmistakable evidence of a long-distance chemical relationship between two worlds nearly 6 billion kilometers from the Sun, a relationship that challenges our idea of what moons can be, what binary systems can do, and how even the coldest corners of the solar system can remain active in ways we barely understand. And this is only the beginning. Future missions, perhaps orbiters, landers, or probes, could uncover even more secrets hidden beneath Charon's ancient crust. They may confirm the remnants of a frozen ocean, detect chemical signatures beneath the polar stain, or reveal that Pluto and Charon are still exchanging material today. But until then, we are left with this astonishing truth. Sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries come not from explosions, storms, or raging volcanoes, but from a quiet red stain on a moon, almost forgotten by time. If this journey into the frozen frontier of Pluto and Charon opened your imagination, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and activate the notifications. Each week, we explore the mysteries of the universe with science, storytelling, and the wonder these distant worlds deserve. And tell me in the comments, what do you think NASA discovered on Charon? And could it be just the beginning of something even bigger?